Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BJM podcast. I'm Mike Thomas from the marketing department, and I have with us our business development person, Nick
Shaffrey.
Oh, I was going to say your name for you, but that's great. Nick. And Nick is also a licensed CAM,
Yes.
and you are part of our BGM group for over a year now. Would you want to give a little bit background to the public before we get started?
Of course. So my name is Nick Shaffrey. I am the business development manager for all of BJM Group. I handle both the Georgia and Florida markets, but specifically today we're going to be talking about the Florida market. I am a licensed CAM in Florida. I've held on-site positions as well as portfolio and client relations, front-facing for upwards of 260 plus accounts. So a lot of experience in the Florida market and the different ins and outs that come along with managing an HOA or a condo in those markets.
So we should have words come up right now. Management companies, boards, CAMs, don't tune out.
Exactly.
Be ready.
Yeah. So today, what I was hoping we could talk about is the different triggers in Florida.
Are there lots of them?
Quite a few, and they change and vary slightly from statute to statute.
I feel like you should have like your Nick top 10 or something.
So it's 5 specific.
Okay, so we got our top 5.
We got our 5.
All right, so be ready. Everybody got their sheets and paper out. Homework time.
So 720 and 718 do vary, but the triggers remain the same between the two statutes. So 718 pertains to condominiums, and 720 pertains to HOAs. So the triggers remain the same. You're looking at, for an audit, anything over $500,000 unless your bylaws specifically state otherwise. You have the reviews, which are from the range of $300,000 to $500,000. The review is a review of the financial statements. It doesn't have quite as much detail as an audit has, per se. So the price range and the points are typically lower on something like that, but there's still a lot of work that goes into it. Then you have from $150,000 to $300,000 is a compilation. Compilations are a restatement of your financials along with either disclosures or no disclosures. There's no in between. You can't pick like a couple small disclosures that you want just added in. If you're going to put the disclosures in, you need to put all of them in. And then the final one, which is the least detailed piece of a test work, is called a statement of cash. That is pretty much you just have a CPA, a second set of eyes looking over it. They review everything, make sure that the bank statements and the financials line up. They stamp it, and they're done. Your individual bylaws will come into play on that. And sometimes your bylaw says a reviewed financial statement or an audit or slash and. It just depends on how they were written. So those are the triggers themselves.
Every community is different.
Every community is different. A lot of them.
Every city?
Sometimes. You can get some very interesting ones when you go towards the areas that have had condominiums for 50, 60 years, because the boilerplates that they used on those are not necessarily even close to what the industry is using anymore. Even the terminologies that are used in it. So it's
I'm assuming state by state's different too.
Yes, Florida and Georgia are drastically different. Georgia doesn't have the same sort of triggers that we do in Florida, but if your bylaws, that's the other part that comes in, mention any sort of financial review, you are obligated to follow your bylaws to the best of your ability. I usually recommend getting a legal opinion if they're really obscure, the language used. And there's a number of attorneys that we work with, and we're always happy to recommend at least somebody to go over them with you if your association doesn't have one.
And I was going to say, like, at the end of the day, you're kind of being built up as the BGM expert when it comes to this community association management stuff. You've been there. You've been in the shoes of everybody that's watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's the only thing is from the CAM's perspective, we don't offer legal opinions, for instance.
Understand.
I can give them advice on function. I can give them advice on what I've personally experienced and give them the information related to our services. But ultimately, it is the fiduciary responsibility of every board member watching this, and to a lesser extent, the CAMs, to make sure that they're adhering to whatever the bylaws prescribe and the state statutes require.
It's very serious stuff, man.
Yeah, it can be. And some really simple examples are if you take over a new community as a manager and you're not seeing everything quite lining up the way that it should, you're just trying to do your part to bring the board up to speed and check against the financials. If you're noticing severe discrepancies, issues with the reconciliation between the bank statements and the financials that were provided, and we've all had that experience, unfortunately, as a CAM, where maybe the management company, maybe they went out of business in the first 2 months of the year. They get a new management company. They're not the right fit. October, you are the new manager, and that means that 3 different groups have touched this, not including anything else that may have gone on with the board.
And you've seen this just in a year, even with people, or
I've seen this throughout my entire career. So in the last year, I've had the fortunate experience of helping a few communities that had been defrauded by their previous boards or management companies. And
I feel like people are nodding their head and relating to you right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We've all experienced as board members and CAMs is just you come in and everybody says everything's clean, everything's perfect, and then you take a look at it and it's not. Yeah, it's a bunch of receipts in a shoebox, or occasionally you actually do get clean files, but they're so outdated and there's no actual system to check them. You need another pair of eyes, and that's what we provide here at BJM Group. We have a dedicated team of attest experts. This is not a mom and pop sort of situation. My team is not slowing down during tax season and putting your audit to the back burner, because they don't touch taxes. They don't go over anything like that. We do taxes for HOAs, but that's a separate dedicated division, just like our attest work is a dedicated division. So they're able to focus in on what your individual requirements are. We have clean lists that we send over to the managers and to the boards, requesting all the data well in advance. They're able to pour through it relatively quickly compared to someone who has got, say, 100 tax returns that they're trying to get out within the season. They're going to be bogged down by that. Even if it only takes them 30 minutes to an hour to complete an individual's, that's 30 minutes of an hour that they're not working on your association. So, but yeah, it's important. People need to understand what their fiduciary responsibilities are as a board member. They need to adhere to their bylaws. They need to adhere to statutes, and we're here to help them with that.
It's more than just volunteering to make sure your neighborhood looks good.
Precisely. And the focus is that, especially if anybody takes anything away from what we're talking about today, is make sure you understand your bylaws, make sure that you've read them, that if you haven't necessarily had the chance to really comb into them, most of your attorneys offer certification courses on being a board member, what your responsibilities are. We actually do fraud prevention courses, we do budgeting courses, and we do understanding your financials. So anytime someone wants to attend one of our CE classes, we do them throughout the year with the different networking groups. We can also do dedicated ones with the management offices themselves. They are accredited with the DBPR, so you do get credit. Because continuing education, we got to get our hours every year.
And it's changing too, right? Everything always.
Yeah, Tallahassee always seems to come up with something new for us to follow, and a new
you hear
interpretation.
That, Tallahassee?
Oh, it's something that the board members and CAMs deal with, and the management companies on a regular basis.
Well, I think it's great to have all that background and knowledge and what we can do at BJM Group to help people. So
yeah, we're always here for you. Please feel free to reach out. I'm sure you'll see me at the different networking groups, but I'm perfectly fine to take a phone call anytime. I'm here to support and help our boards and our managers and our management companies. Actually, one thing that we do as well, outside of the attest work, is when you get a very messy set of books, we do something called an agreed upon procedure, where we can look at the cash disbursements, we can look at the different items, and that's something that we would set you up with one of our CPAs on a call. We'd go through what your expectation is, what you need done, because if your accounting team is trying to onboard, say, 300 homes, just 300 homes, that can be hours and hours of data entry, labor that goes into that, and we're happy to help on the other side while they're working on getting everybody in and getting your financials moving forward, help you try to clean up and make sense out of what was already there.
Yeah.
So
all right. So boards, CAMs, management companies, if you're looking to reach Nick, network with Nick is what I'm going to call it. How can they reach you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I participate in CAI. I am also at most of the different networking events that you attend for your CE classes. Dave & Buster's, CAMU, I attend both of those as well. there's a lot of different opportunities.
Between Georgia and Florida, people can find you.
Oh yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm the only Nick Shaffrey.
We'll go ahead and we'll put the email address up on the screen too. But what's your email address for people?
So it's in for Nick and then Shaffrey, my last name, at bjmgroup.com. And just feel free to shoot me over an email. We can go over some different details. Sometimes it's as simple as just answering a couple questions, especially for the smaller self-managed. I know I said 300 plus units, but there's no limit to us helping you. If
Size-wise, community.
No, it's we have our minimums for the attest work, but that's just based on a CPA's hours and the time that's equated with it. But if you only have 10 homes in your community and there's never been taxes filed, we've seen those as CAMs.
Anybody out there?
Yeah, it's one of those questions I actually ask at the conventions before I give them their notebook. I say, hey, state of Florida, HOAs and condominiums are considered non-for-profit entities. Do you or do you not need to file taxes? Not often, but often enough that it concerns me. We do have folks who don't know that they're supposed to be filing taxes. They think that they're a non-for-profit entity, but we know that they're supposed to get those done. They eventually find out about that as board members. They reach out and they say, hey, what are we supposed to do next? And my answer is let us look through everything. Let us try to get your taxes filed in good faith. And we're going to help you with that. It doesn't matter your size. We're here to assist you in any way that we can.
That's great, Nick. All right, y'all. Network with Nick. We are BJM Group, bjmgroup.com, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.
Have a great one.